Hey guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. So, tonight's discussion is a little bit about the thing that we feel all the time, this little thing called stress. And I feel like, hey Noonie, I feel like, oh, thanks so much for that. Um, I feel like we kind of go around and almost pride ourselves a little bit on always being so stressed out. How are you doing? Oh, I'm so busy. I'm so stressed out. And I kind of wanted to take a moment and really talk about this because I don't think it's something to be extremely proud of at all. I think that we need to allow ourselves, hey Vessel, allow ourselves to kind of take a step back and take a few deep breaths and really analyze what this kind of constant pressure, this dull constant pressure that we feel is doing to our mental health and as well as our physical health. So let's start with a definition. I found a definition that kind of is simple to understand, makes a little bit of sense. I have a few more that I'd like to share with you, but here's one to start. Stress is a feeling of emotional or physical tension. It comes from a thought that makes you feel anxious, frustrated, fear, anger, nervous, etc. Right? So stress is a result of your mental state, of your physical state. It comes from a thought, and we're going to address this again a little bit later in our talk. It comes from a thought that creates a feeling of nervousness, anxiety, fear, frustration, etc., anger, etc. Stress can be a really good thing. It can be a great thing, like animals as well, they experience stress. When does it help you? It helps you hit a deadline. You get really stressed out. You're like, okay, I have to focus and I have to get something done on time. Stress is really good there. Stress is also great if you're trying to run away from a tiger or a lion, right? You need stress in your body because the stress actually energizes your muscles and says, hey, we need to move. We need to go into this mode of fight or flight or we're going to die. So let's run from the lion. But here's the problem with stress, all right? And the stress that we carry in our daily lives from the time that we wake up to the time that we go to bed. We're constantly running away from the lion. And if you're constantly running away from the lion, it tends to cause a lot of long-term physical, mental, and emotional damage to the body. The body is not meant to cope with as much stress as we put it under. In terms of having long-term stress on the body, it can have loads of different repercussions. Like you can experience headaches, you can experience all kinds of digestive issues because it actually really affects your digestive system badly, poorly, because all that fear tends to hit the digestive system directly. It can also, and for all of you guys that wrote to me and said you're stressed about the virus and everything that it's doing to you and your family situation, stress actually affects your immunity. All right. So the very thing that you're worried about, the coronavirus that you're worried about actually getting, is actually lowering your immunity and making you more susceptible to falling prey to the virus. So think about that for a second. The very thing that you're stressed out about is actually, causing you to be more susceptible to it. So it doesn't. Thank you very much. It doesn't really solve any problems. It really doesn't. Because the thing is, and we said this in the definition earlier, that it comes from a thought. Now, every single thing that you think, everything that you think, creates a reaction in your body. Every single thing that you think. And, stress comes from reactions of fear, anxiety, nervousness. These are low-level kind of stimulus to have in the body, right? So they're all kind of, I don't want to kind of pile them into good and bad, evil or whatever, but they're not great feelings to have. And so we're constantly, if we're in worries about money or fear about not having a job or not having enough, not knowing what the future is going to hold, I think it's worth taking a step back and actually noticing, A, if you have any control of the situation, B, what can you do to control the situation that you're in? And basically, I think a lot of what we're stressing about at the moment has to do with not being in control, right? So there's something that we continue to say in yoga, which is you're not really in control anyway. You're really not. I think what this year has actually shown us is exactly that. You can make all the plans in the world that you want to make, but here's the thing. You got to just allow yourself to ebb and flow, go with it, see what happens, right? And that's kind of the beauty of coming alive. I think in a lot of ways what this year has done for a lot of us is shaken us out of our rhythm, our routine, our kind of drone-like routine of wake up, go to work, drink lots of coffee, come back home, go to sleep, and wake up and do it all over again. So suddenly we're kind of being asked and questioned in terms of our purpose, our passion, our life, and there was nowhere to run. Going out and shopping isn't solving the problem. Watching tons and tons of Netflix isn't solving the problem. Eating lots of gross food isn't solving the problem. It's actually having to sit down and address it. And I think we're going to all look back on this year and notice what a beautiful blessing it has been to be able to address certain things. So bringing that back into this area of stress, the more we don't allow ourselves to address the feelings that we don't want to feel. And I spoke about this, I think, last week as well, or especially when I was talking about alcoholism. It's like numbing ourselves out. We've gotten really good at only wanting to feel the good stuff and not allowing ourselves to feel the bad stuff, right? We've categorized this. I don't want to feel fearful. I don't want to feel anxious. It's bad to feel nervous. It's bad to feel angry. It's bad to feel resentful. And so I will do whatever I can to not have to feel these feelings, whether it's go out shopping, whether it's eat all kinds of food, whether it's drink alcohol, whatever your numbing technique might be, to not address whatever is stressing you out, is only going to make it worse, honestly. Say watching Netflix, for example, I got into the habit of kind of putting Netflix on in the background and doing my work. And honestly, it actually makes my mind more anxious because there is more sound and more stuff to take in and more stuff to comprehend. And it actually just makes me feel worse. Plus, the stuff that you watch, and I got into the habit of actually watching like these crime dramas where they actually solve crimes, the unsolved crimes, those kinds of things. Extremely low vibrational stuff where you get to see people's dark side and it's just horrible stuff happening to people dying on screen. Like, it just doesn't make you feel great at all. So what's on the screen could actually exacerbate the anxiety that you're feeling, the nervousness that you're feeling, the fear that you're feeling. It could actually just make it worse. So really be mindful of the things that you consume because, as I said earlier in the definition that we were talking about, stress comes from a thought that leads to an emotional reaction in the body. All right, so here's how this stuff works. You think a thought, right? And based on whether you think it's a good or bad thought, your body will go, okay, that doesn't feel so great. Here's some nervousness. Here's release some hormones into our system that kind of fire us up and make us feel a little bit more nervous, a little bit more anxious. Stress causes the heart rate to go up. Stress causes our breath rate to go high. It causes the muscles to start to fire off and kind of agitate it, as I said, in this mode where you're about to run away from a lion. Now, to live in that state constantly is exhausting. It's exhausting for your body. It's exhausting for your mind. It's extremely exhausting for your nervous system. You can't do that to yourself all the time. So in terms of also numbing yourself out when you're in this state, where you're like, okay, I need to solve this issue, stress. I'm going to reach for something to kind of pick up and make me feel better for now. We'll take care of the big picture later. For right now, I just need to feel better. Food. What kind of food should you be staying away from? Let's talk about that for a second, because that tends to be the first thing that we think of, right? So I saw the list and I'm thinking to myself, these are all the things that I tend to eat when I'm stressed out. Number 1, salt. Stay away from that stuff. It kind of stresses your body out. It stresses your digestive system out completely. Really unhealthy when you're actually stressed out anyway. Number two, sugar. Tons and tons of sugar. How many times have you reached into a bag of candy to solve your problems with stress or fear or anxiety? This piece of cake is going to make me feel better. No, it probably won't. It will feel good in your mouth for a moment, but the moment it settles into your stomach, it's not going to be good for you. Caffeine, really not good at all as well. So all these things tend to kind of spike your cortisol levels and cause even more anxiety, even more stress. Those of you who drink alcohol, and this used to be me too, right? So I'm just gonna have a drink. It's been a long day. It's been a really stressful day for me. I'm gonna wind down with a little bit of alcohol. Now, alcohol is a depressant, and it can actually cause more stress. And what it tends to do for those of you who tend to drink thinking is going to be a great idea to do before you go to bed, it gives you a really, really shitty night of sleep. Really, really shitty night's sleep. Why? Because your liver actually has to work overtime to digest all the alcohol so that when you wake up, you feel exhausted. And in that state of exhaustion, now you gotta deliver, you gotta be productive, you gotta go around and have a busy day. And guess what that's going to do? Get you even more stressed out, right? So again, think about things that you reach for to be able to kind of numb out the stress, to deal or cope with the stress, because those things that you're doing could be adding even more stress to your life. All right. Another definition of stress that I absolutely love that comes from one of my meditation teachers is stress is the unwillingness to be with whatever it is that you're going through right now. So if you've ever stopped to think about what your mind is doing, it tends to do this, like this pendulum from back to front, right? It tends to go back to front, from the past into the future, from the past that has already happened. So you're holding on to grief and resentment and anger and judgment, and then you pendulum into the future that you cannot control at all. There is a lot of fear there. There's anxiety. There's nervousness about what's going to happen. So both of these situations are out of your control, right? And your mind just goes from one to the other. And we get so good at not being with ourselves in the present moment that that's constantly what we continue to do. Now, if we're able to just stay in the present moment, and I'll talk to you a little bit about techniques in order to do that in just a little bit. If we're able to stay in the present moment is quite simple, really. It's about your breathing. It's about focusing on what's happening right in front of you, right? And just allowing yourself to be here, right? This is where life is actually happening. This is where you're actually alive and able to do something about every situation, right? You can't go back into the past and solve anything. You can't move into the future and make anything happen. We know this already. You can plan all you want to, but things are going to happen the way they're supposed to happen. So allowing ourselves to just surrender a little bit. I think that's probably, for me, the best opposite of stress. It's surrender. If we can stop needing to control everything, every single aspect of our lives, every single moment of our lives, know exactly what's going to happen down the road, 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, even tomorrow. If we can just allow ourselves to ebb and flow a little bit more, perhaps we'd be able to be okay with everything that's happening, right? I mean, I don't think we're all alive and well, and hopefully our families are doing okay too, so nothing too bad has happened so far, and nothing terrible is going to happen in the future as well. It's not going to be the hardest thing. And guess what? The only place that you're ever going to be able to deal with it is in the present moment. It's in the now, all right? So mindfulness to me is probably the biggest thing that we need to kind of cultivate in order to cope with high levels or even low levels of stress. Once we're able to stay with whatever it is that is bothering us and acknowledge and not kind of suppress it and kind of numb it out with whatever it is that we reach for, and just sit with it and acknowledge that it exists, then we can start to deal with whatever it is that's causing the underlying emotion, right? So if it's the thoughts that causes the emotion, can we sit with the emotion and allow ourselves to realize where that thought is coming from. So, what if I were to tell you that your fear, your nervousness, your anxiety are all amazing teachers? They are amazing teachers. They teach us a little bit about ourselves, what we're afraid of, what we're nervous about, how we can cope with this stuff as well comes from that place. So, fear is nothing more than your mind alerting you to some sort of danger that threatens that threatens your existence, right? So what if you're able to sit with your fear and allow yourself to just say, hey, fear, thank you. I realize that you're here. Welcome. It's good to meet you, friend. But I promise I'm going to take care of us. I'm going to do everything that I need to take care of us. And we're going to be okay. We are going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. So, even the idea of just sitting with whatever it is that you're dealing with straight away brings you into the present moment. It straight away brings you into the now, into the here, to be with whatever it is. What also tends to happen in a beautiful way when you're mindful is you stop reacting to everything and you start intelligently responding to everything, right? So do this little exercise with me. Go ahead and place your hands on your heart, right? And when we're in this fight or flight mode, let me just say, we tend to kind of be out here in the world, right? When we're fearful and we're nervous and we're anxious about life, we're kind of living outside of our space almost. We're kind of in this world, ready to confront, ready to take on whatever it is that's coming at us, always in this defensive mode, always ready to react, always ready to kind of fire off and be red-headed and kind of, take life by the balls. Well, maybe that doesn't need to be the case at all. Maybe if we can kind of put our hands in our heart and send ourselves back into the body, right? So let yourself embody this body. Let yourself embody this moment and sit back into yourself. So almost like you want to stop living out here and start living in here, right? So let yourself move back into your body. So I'm almost imagining myself sitting in the back of my heart space. Now, the back of the heart space also represents your past, which for a lot of us isn't the most pleasant place to be. We've done a lot of work to avoid. We've done a lot of shopping. We've done a lot of drinking. We've done a lot of other stuff to stop thinking about the things that have happened in the past. But I promise you, if you can make that space your friend, it will be the best thing for you, because that's where your calmness comes from. That's where your sanity comes from. That's where this feeling of grounding comes from as well, by sitting in your body and allowing yourself to act from that place. So go ahead and place your hands on your heart. Allow yourself to just send yourself back into the heart space. Send yourself into the back of your heart. Allow yourself to live and breathe in the back of your chest. And just begin to take a few deep breaths in and a few deep breaths out. What also is really helpful here to facilitate your breathing is to perhaps count. So it's a 1, 2, 3 on the inhale and a 1, 2, 3 on the exhale. 1, 2, 3 on the inhale and a 1, 2, 3 on the exhale. Again, deep breath in, deep breath out. Again, deep breath in, deep breath out. Notice how simple this moment is. Continue breathing in this way. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. So breathing in this way, allowing the breath to get deeper, allowing yourself to breathe with quality rather than taking these huffing, puffing, exacerbated kind of like short, sharp breaths, right? We generally tend to breathe about 16 breaths per minute. That's quite fast. So if we're able to just slow that down even a little bit to say 5 or 8 breaths per minute, that already starts to bring you into a more calm and grounded place, right? And this feeling of being inside your body, so you can really start to look at the world around you, look at the situation that you're in from a clearer headspace, and allow yourself to move, to respond to life. Because that's the responsibility, right? You have a responsibility, a responsibility, almost like a need to be accountable to yourself, to your mind, to your sanity, to your physiology, to be really, really calm and sane about the way that you go about life. You have a responsibility to come at life and come at situations from a place of grounding, from a place of sanity, from a place of calmness. And if all you're doing all day long is running away from lions and tigers, that's not going to be the most efficient use of your mind, efficient use of your body or your energies, really. Because stress is just wasteful. It's really wasteful. Allowing ourselves to move back into the past and grieving about the life that we had, or moving into the future where we have absolutely no idea what's going to happen next and we have no control over what's coming, is just going to stress us out more, is really not the best use of our energies at all. So every time you find yourself in this mode of stress, stop reaching for your next coffee, stop reaching for your next cupcake, stop reaching for your phone and swiping through your phone, stop reaching for the remote control and turn on the TV. Don't even put on any music. Just sit down and take a couple of deep breaths. I promise you that's going to be the best way to bring yourself back into the moment that you're in. Because the more that you can live in the present moment, A, you'll be able to cope with whatever's showing up for you in your life right now. And B, the present moment is so simple. It's so simple. It's your breath, it's your current situation, and it's you. And the question is, how are you going to respond? How are you going to respond? All right. So stress can overtake your life. It can really, really run the show if you let it, right? And being proud of being stressed out is nothing, really, really nothing to be proud of. In fact, we need to take it a couple of notches down, give our hearts a little bit of a rest, give our bodies a little bit of a rest, and get better at actually resting, period. Okay, I want to leave you today with a little something from a book I'm reading, this amazing book actually called No Mud, No Lotus. Here we go. If we take care of the suffering inside us, we have more clarity, energy, and strength to help address the suffering, violence, poverty, and inequality of our loved ones, as well as the suffering in our community and the world. If, however, we are preoccupied with the fear and despair in us, we can't help remove the suffering of others. There is an art to suffering as well. If we know how to take care of our suffering, we not only suffer much, much less, we also create much more happiness around us and in the world. So for the sake of ourselves, for the sake of our loved ones, for the sake of the world around us, and for the sake of humanity in general, try not to take life so damn serious. Try not to think about having to control every damn thing that happens, and try to reduce your stress levels. One of the best ways, and I will leave you with this, that I have personally found in my own life that has helped me really, really kind of understand and just be with my emotions. One is meditation, and perhaps next week I'll stop just talking about meditation and start teaching you guys some techniques. Two is just, again, as I said, just sitting with your breath in the moment, come back and address what it is, what emotion it is that you're particularly dealing with or trying to run away from. And 3 is this idea of grounding. Really, guys, I cannot stress enough how much grounding really, really keeps me sane. Take off your shoes, go to the beach, take a walk. Salt water is the best remedy for any negative thoughts, any negative emotions. I promise you, put your feet in some salt water. The other thing is take off your shoes and just walk around the house even. And if you have access to a park, just walk yourself over to a park and walk in the grass. Grounding can be the quickest way to actually take away all the negative stuff that you're feeling. So take good care of yourselves as always, and continue to smile, right? The stuff that you carry with you, the habits that you carry with you don't just affect you, they affect everybody. So if you're not so concerned about yourself, do it for the sake of your loved ones. Be an amazing example to your children about how to be and how to cope with life. Be an amazing example to your family members so they turn around and shift away from the stuff that they're doing to the kind of stuff that you're doing that looks healthy and happy. Stay wonderful. See you guys next week. Namaste.